Hello and welcome back to Podcasting's Praxis. I'm David, my pronouns are he and him.
I'm Jamie, my pronouns are he and him.
I'm Rob, mine are he and him.
And I'm Alistair, and my pronouns are also he and him.
And we're doing the European shit again. The Spectre is no longer haunting Europe sufficiently, which means that we need to do this. So we've obviously done what we would do in any circumstance where we don't know what the fuck we're doing. And we've got other people on the podcast to exploit their labour because they do understand this shit. So we've brought on Nick and Ciarán from Corner Späti.
Hey, we're back. Thanks for having us. We're putting out treats for the Spectre.
Again.
Trying to coax the Spectre back from East Asia, I guess. That's probably where it went.
Put out linen coats and sat outside the front door.
Yeah, as is tradition.
I've broke out the Luigi board, but I don't think it's doing anything yet.
We have conscripted Lad Baby to make us the communist Christmas song.
It's too early in the year to start thinking about fucking Lad Baby and how mad they make me again. No, don't do this to me. Don't.
One day, like,
sausage roll cunt.
your children are going to be like, oh man, it's December 1st, and instead of a picture of Mariah Carey, it's a picture of Lad Baby.
Oh. It is the future Britain deserves, but it's not the one that I want. Like, even I feel that's a bit too harsh.
Yeah. I mean, you know that like that lad baby couple was like going to turn into ghouls in the Fallout landscape, and they simply cannot be killed.
We have such a wide array of political enemies. Jamie Oliver, Lad Baby, Mr. Blobby, you know, the list goes on.
Ursula von der Leyen. Yeah, it's a range. But before we get there, I wanted to start off briefly with, honestly, just there's no good reason for me to talk about this except that it's delightful. There was a really good story in Matt Levine's newsletter, Money Stuff. So this is your very rare Texas update.
Oh, I can't wait. Do I need to get a gun out?
Well, the Texas
already.
I've consulted the European Union Commission, and it is recommending you get a gun out.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's the answer for everything these days.
Just shoot wildly east. That'll do it.
Yeah.
When I see just Texas update, the only thing that comes to my mind today is that they, which maybe was the MLB released new hats, and they're very poor design. That then for the Texas Rangers just says Tetas. And,
Pittsburgh
it rips. And unfortunately, the Texas Rangers didn't want to be cool, so they immediately pulled it. So that's a big L on my in my book.
I like
so
the one that said
actually,
anal.
There's a new calculator.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the European mind would not be afraid of Tetas, but apparently,
yeah, exactly. So this is the other serious issue genuinely bothering the Texas legislature at the moment. They need to fix the state's lottery system as well as find a new lottery commissioner after the previous one resigned in shame. And the reason why is why I want to talk about it. And all of this is in response to a quite legitimate concern that the Texas state lottery got rigged by a Maltese gambling company and maybe with collusion from the people at the Texas lottery.
Yes.
I can't wait for the film starring Bryan Cranston about this.
Europe's most secretly evil country. I love this.
Oh, absolutely.
Malta is stuffed to the gills with evil.
I was reading, so I'm doing the videos for this year's Giravision, and I had to make one for Malta, and it's just like, what the fuck happens in Malta? And I was reading...
Journalists dying in car bombs, that's what...
Don't worry, Nick, I've incorporated that. But, I was looking at the Wikipedia list of, Maltese Americans. The most famous one is Britney Spears. And then the rest of it is just they all landed in Louisiana, and everyone thought and insisted they were Italian. I think this is their revenge.
So what happened with the Texas lottery is if you don't know, like lotteries, if they very often roll over if you don't win the main prize week to week. So if the full set of numbers isn't drawn in week 1, the prize shifts over to week 2 and gets bigger, etc., etc. And because the Texas State Lottery was quite small, or is still quite small, it only has like about 1 million players every week for about, because of the number of combinations, about 26 million possible number combination that you could have on the ticket. So a lot of times the prize wasn't won and rolls over and gets bigger and bigger. So last month in February of 2025, the jackpot went up to almost $84 million, and it was won. It was obviously very, as well as another very big one that got won in 2023. But this time it turns out there might have been some significant shenanigans about. Basically, like, lotteries are very difficult to game. Like, you either need to rig it, which is, much less possible now than it used to be, or you'd need to hold so many tickets that essentially you'd be able to guarantee that you hold the set of winning numbers.
Yeah, standing under millions of trees simultaneously in the hope you'll be struck by lightning.
Yes, exactly. Now, normally you could technically do this, right? You could go from 6 zeros to 5 zeros and a 1, and like work your way through the entire series. But like,
that's what I do every week. I increment my numbers by 1, and that's it, baby. That's the system.
Infallible. But normally that's impractical, because like you'd have to go to like an infinity of corner shops and you'd have to buy 26 million individual tickets to guarantee that you do have the winning number, right? Like that's not a practical thing. However, what the Maltese gaming company did is, this is from Matt Levine's newsletter, the way to buy every ticket is to get the Lottery Commission to send you a bunch of lottery terminals to your office and then use computers to automate the process and rapidly print every single possible ticket from those machines.
Yes.
Cool.
This method is known as a courier service, and the question mark currently before also the Texas state legislature is this legal, and if not, how do we stop it? So what it turns out is that a Malta-based company called Spinola Gaming, they simply called the Texas Lottery and said, hey, can we buy literally all 26 million tickets from you direct? Because they all cost like $1 each. And if the price is 84, and if you spend 26 to, buy and print all the tickets, you're in the money. And so far as I can work out, the Texas Lottery response was just Air Bud rules. Doesn't say anything.
You're not a dog, are you?
Yeah, we've got that one covered.
I've just gotten off the I'm a lovely Texan man. I just got off the phone with this Maltese company, and there's nothing in the rule, but this says a dog can't participate in the library. And my best friends, a bunch of Northern Italians, have convinced me the Maltese are a type of dog. So everything seems in order, actually.
Yeah, due to this arcane law regarding anti-racism, yeah, this is totally legal.
I love how this is like the political economy of Malta. This is like a sizable part of their GDP is defrauding various state lotteries.
How mad do you think they would have been if they had lost, though?
I mean, the reason that only this Maltese company, this Spinola Gaming company, did this is because literally nobody had ever tried to do something like this before, because it's obviously so fucking crazy. Just like ring the lottery company and say, can you send us a couple of printing terminals and we'll send you $26 million. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's
you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah, just a small bean tech solution that requires nothing more than a Raspberry Pi, a couple of emails, and $26 million. Anyone could do it.
Yeah. And my Spinola Gaming, based in fucking Malta, where we make waste management simulator and waterworks simulator. Just this 26 million was very legitimate.
I had no idea that the Maltese economy was so integral to the German one.
Curious.
Before they re-legalized gambling, online gambling and stuff in the UK, like a significant chunk of it was all like run out of Malta, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cyprus
good.
is a big one too for that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I used to get ads all the time for "Have you considered working in Gibraltar?" Because that's like what Gibraltar is also for.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted
Yeah.
to onshore all of these online gambling companies so that we could not tax them here. It's great.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's more efficient that way.
Yeah.
And I'm just waiting for the money to roll in. Anyway, I've got this email from Spinola Gaming that I have to answer as head of the Lottery Commission.
Speaking of lottery, right?
Although-
Does everyone remember that fucking Darren Brown special where he was going to predict the lottery numbers and he predicted them
Yeah.
as they were called out?
Yeah, I remember
It's like,
that.
wow,
What
how did he
fucking-
manage that?
But yeah, don't you worry about it. According to AustinLive.com, I do my research for this podcast. The Texas Rangers are currently investigating. So roundhouse kicks coming to Malta very soon.
Well, they're not in Texas, so jot that one down.
It is actually the baseball team.
Yeah, we spent all of our money on lottery tickets, and unfortunately, there was no money left over for hats.
Oh my
They
god!
do
I
have
can't wait
Tatus
for
branded jackets on when they bust in.
and bust in. You mean to the city of Valletta? Like they make a landing in Malta.
Yeah.
It's got a pretty good fort though. Like you're gonna have to like work at it.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I think Malta of all places is quite resistant to a landing.
Anyway, but before we get on to Europol, two bits of British news that I did want to cover. The first is basically I did want to take a moment to once again laugh at Ed Miliband.
As he walked outside
Okay,
and
I'll allow
his entire driveway is just covered in banana peels again.
Well, he is now officially more of a fucking coward than Annalise Dodds, which is really a fucking accomplishment if you think about it. Because after it already like got cut to shit, the government has and the government announced a third runway, which he is on record as fucking hating. The fake non-existent GB Energy is once again getting more cuts in exchange for guns and bombs.
The GB Energy, a thing that doesn't exist except a bunch of people
Nope.
are being paid to be a part of it and not do any work. The cuts are gonna go so deep.
Well, they paid that one German man.
The UK seems to have invented the perpetual motion machine for austerity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like we're making cuts to things that don't exist and saving money this way somehow.
Yeah, so the idea is because like GB Energy only has like 100 million worth of funding for the first 2 years, including this one, but the rest, the government pinky promises, the 8.1 billion is coming soon after, except maybe not anymore. This from
Is
the
that
Financial Times.
alongside Gabo, or
Sorry?
is that alongside Gabo?
Yeah, new sustainable green Gabo.
Has the Treasury even got their hands on this yet? Because I feel like as soon as they do, like it's just, I mean, even more of a fucking, fart that it is already. It's going to be even more so afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, this is essentially, so what's happening is, this is from the Financial Times. One option under consideration by the Treasury is cutting the £3.3 billion previously earmarked for GB Energy to fund low-interest loans via local authorities for projects such as solar panels and shared ownership wind projects, i.e. what if we did just more Thurox?
Yeah. Which worked out fine and is definitely a real thing.
Yeah, it worked out fine for one guy. And don't ask about anyone else who lives in Thurrock.
Well, that is because, I mean, that's the cut they're going to make. But the real reason, apart from, just wanting to cut things that Ed Miliband loves because, that man is a fucking masochist.
Yeah, the most left-wing Labour MP in the cabinet. And, yeah, he's got to get spanked every week like clockwork. So, yeah, your time has come again, Ed.
Yeah, well, it's because like reform is growing, so and they, their new target is that net zero and green things are bad and stupid and need to be removed. So again, from the FT, there are concerns inside Downing Street and the Treasury about the cost of the broader net zero 2050 agenda and whether some policies will prove to be too expensive for consumers and industry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, good news, because there won't be any consumers and industry on a dead planet.
Yeah, but they'll be out of office by then.
Have we considered scrolling GB energy on a big battery and plugging that into Tony Benn's fucking coffin? I think that might actually solve a couple of problems at the one time.
So if that's a little grim news for you, I would like to, and also because Ciarán and Nick are here, I would like you to know that we can still cheer up the nation in this dark time. Because
thank goodness, I was worried.
Yeah,
you're bringing back the Edstone.
No, it's better than that. It does. Yeah,
we're upgrading. We're upgrading everyone's mood from miserable to dour.
Yeah, because you remember the last time like the UK was involved in a good war, and like 90% of all cultural output after that was about how plucky Britain fought the Nazis and won. Well, get ready for May 8.
Who can forget the street party where everyone dressed up as fucking Spitfires and all caught COVID during lockdown?
Well, Alistair, I'm so pleased to tell you have a new
chance. That should be a national holiday.
It is going to be, because this year on May 8th, it will be the 80th anniversary of VE Day, when we beat the Nazi Germans. And you're all invited to host a street party or a barbecue to celebrate.
I'm busy that day.
Yeah, right, Rob. Put me out the misery now. Is it a bank holiday?
I assume no.
Go fuck yourself. I'm not doing it then.
I think
make it a bank holiday and see if I do. But I definitely won't if you don't. So
yeah, I'm definitely going to take a fucking Thursday off to have a street party in honor of this shit.
Is it going to end up like how May 8th is in Germany, where it's all very well intentioned, but then people just get kind of annoyed that a bunch of the Russians come out to celebrate the fact that they won?
No, not like that.
Do you think if we whipped the British populace up into enough of a frenzy, they would all get into small boats and cross the channel on that day?
Yeah.
Okay, to be fair, that sounds like a really good stag.
Yeah, for this stag, we're gonna emulate Dunkirk.
Yeah. They're calling it Dunkirk 2.
No, go the other way.
Too done, too Kirk. Yes.
This is from Sky. To kick off the landmark celebrations on the 5th of May, the cenotaph will be draped in Union flags for the very first time since it was unveiled in 1920, and a flag past and a military procession in London will take place.
Oh, such respect. We love respect.
Yeah.
Exactly, because we're a war economy now, David, so we have to get emotionally ready to, see more troops on the streets.
There's an economy.
Oh, okay.
So fucking
War Christmas,
War Easter.
Economy, we're going to reinstitute rationing. We're going to make sure that everyone has equal access to a bare minimum of food. We'll make sure to house children and stuff like that maybe are homeless, all that kind of stuff. That's the war economy.
No, that sounds Russian.
Oh. That sounds exactly. Well, I have
we're
for you
wheeling
instead.
out the Brexit railgun, and we're putting a bunch of coal-covered chimney sweep children into them and firing them towards Europe.
Well, what I can offer you instead is, again from Sky, then, over the following days, a series of events will be held, such as landmarks being lit up and an installation of 30,000 ceramic poppies at the Tower of London.
Okay,
yes.
So various landmarks.
Yes. 2 War Christmases in 1 year. Yes.
Yes.
Various landmarks being lit up does sound like we're emulating the Blitz.
They're going to flicker the lights in Clydebank.
Yeah. Well, but that's like all the official government stuff. The local stuff, which you should organise yourself, because obviously the government's not paying for it. And this is run by the Together Coalition, which is co-founded by Brendan Cox.
Fuck that guy.
Oh my god! Does he not have a restraining order for NGOs at this point?
Nobody should.
I just want to say, I don't know Brendan Cox that well, but I just want to say Together Coalition sounds like a fascist party from Israel.
Well,
Do you think if Brendan Cox and like fucking Captain Tom's daughter ever met, it would be like the end of Ghostbusters, but for fucking like, you know what I mean, scams? Just drift the roof clean off a skyscraper and open a portal to the cash dimension.
To clue in our illustrious guests, Brendan Cox is the widow of Joe Cox, who was the Labour MP who was murdered in, was the
during the Brexit
run up to Brexit in 2016. So, and it has since emerged that he has left various organisations due to allegations. And we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. No good people around her. Like her sister is currently trying to make it so that we can kill the poor.
But legally, she's
NHS.
the assisted suicide. Kim Ledbetter. Yeah, but the Together Coalition have, because I went to their website to see what they are up to. So apart from giving you a piece of paper that says these are the rules if you want to organize a street party by yourself, they are also organizing a formal one, a street party on the deck of HMS Belfast.
Great. For who? Will I get an invite? Well, Jamie?
Well,
get one. You can have it, Jamie. We'll fly you in.
I do love the fact that
rules.
I do love the fact that the UK has still never been able to kind of like outdo the like whatever like during COVID the boat doing like spins around the Thames to
the ferry, the donut ferry.
Yeah, exactly. Like everything has just been that afterwards, and I do appreciate that at least like the grind is still the exact same.
Yeah.
Everything I know about the UK is that boat doing donuts, and I'm just
exactly. I know nothing else. Yeah,
I hear this new boat news, and I'm just like, you guys love boats.
Yeah, we love everything that's happened since COVID was that boat doing donuts and clap for Ukraine.
Everything that's happened since Napoleon has been boats. That's my understanding.
Now, 90% of UK's foreign and domestic policy is literally just like fling a boat at it. Like that's it. It cannot be overstated the importance of flinging boats at things.
Yeah, and clapping for the NHS, but no pay rises, and also we're going to fire a bunch of you by cutting like what was it, several billion from the NHS's
7 billion.
Budget. 7 billion.
And we did clap for Ukraine as well, though, didn't we? I mean, I didn't, but like we were supposed to, I think.
Okay, well,
maybe that wasn't official government policy. Maybe that was just some like headbangers on the internet just set that up. But I'm sure I remember people clapping for Ukraine.
Maybe I just did that alone. Maybe I just did that alone in my room. Actually, that was just me.
Yeah, whenever
I do it every night
the
before
pan
bedtime.
cupboard wrong.
Yeah, whenever I go on the internet and see a website that's got the Ukraine flag like next to its logo, I'm just like, well done, bravo, you did it. And I'm just applauding.
Every night before I go to bed,
actually.
like I take out my my little icon of Vladimir Zelensky, and then I just clap. That's my bedtime ritual.
Touch his face every time you leave the room. Yeah,
exactly.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Everything
is fucking expensive.
Subscribe to Praxiscast at patreon.com/Praxiscast.
Anyway, now that we've defeated Germany in Mortal Kombat once again, let us ask now the question of our esteemed guests. So, what is up with Germany, and what happened in the election? Because as far as I understand it, Germans are correctly very, very unhappy with the state of the country, and Scholz turned out to be about as popular as François Hollande was at the end of his term. Do I have that about right?
Whoa. That's a bit extreme. Olaf Scholz was unpopular, but that François Hollande is definitely like, a benchmark.
He wasn't French.
Yeah, like
François Hollande was also fucking more, I think.
Oh yeah. Olaf Scholz, absolutely not. I mean, yeah, Scholz was
Olaf
the
Scholz
first...
would never have like the big dick energy of riding to his mistress on his scooter.
Never, no. But yeah, no, Scholz wasn't liked. That's definitely true. But yeah, I don't know where to start with here because everything's kind of bad. It just kind of like spiraled pretty quickly after the last
basically,
government.
it's like the German economy just started eating shit the second the Russians turned off the cheap gas. I think that's sort of a decent starting point.
Yes
do we
and
wanna-
no. Like, I think that then that Germany, like, kind of, it's twofold in the sense of, yeah, there is like the lack of access to cheap energy. The current, well, the outgoing government actually was like trying to like speed run the, you know, zero emissions future sort of stuff that never happened, predominantly because they were in coalition with like a libertarian shithead party in the FDP.
Yeah,
who
and
would
then
just
gave them
block
the finance
anything.
ministry. Baffling shit. Like,
because there was like leftover COVID money that was like I think like 60 billion euros or something that they allocated for green transitional stuff, and then their own like the FDP in conjunction with the CDU sued the government, so they sued themselves and then deemed it unconstitutional. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I get like legally it like wasn't really sound, but I don't care because it actually had like a lot of pretty decent stuff in that package. Nuked immediately. So, and the thing is that Germany does still have access to like a lot of energy sources. I wouldn't say that energy isn't really the big problem here at the moment. People's like energy bills are like, you know, they're raising. That's more in the sense of that than you know, your energy provider's ripping you off rather than the sense that there's like a lack of, you know, supply. But
I mean, as a British podcast, this is something that we would never understand.
Yeah, but the main problems, I guess, with the German economy, which are not really tied to the election at all, is just that, I mean, the economy is doing bad, which is tied to the election, but Germany's entire model of being a cheap export-driven economy with cheap labor can't exist anymore. And so they're like, with the cost of living crisis that then is like slowly creeping up on Germany, wages, they've been rising, but like not at a rate that's kind of comparable to where you would assume the largest economy in Europe should be at. And there is a genuine, of course, like dissatisfaction with then, you know, the outgoing government's inability to kind of like properly tackle things like inflation and this and that, which Germany has been hit with. I wouldn't say nearly like as hard as some people make it out to be. I mean, this is just from my experience with like living in Berlin of like, yeah, prices have gone up, but like not at like some like astronomical amount. But it is the problem that there are like, you know, unemployment is like getting higher. And but ignore all that stuff because they really wanted to make it out to you that migration was the hugest problem. A thing that then has been decreasing in Europe since 2015 if you take out the numbers of Ukraine, you know, refugees from Ukraine. So yeah, that whole kind of, you know, typical, you know, European distraction thing from the right definitely like won out the general debate. Now, if people voted that way, I guess is like a bit like, you know, we can talk about that for a bit. But yeah, like Germany is no longer the economic powerhouse of Europe, though. Like, and that's very clear. Germany's a very difficult country to kind of attract businesses to as well. That was something that then the CDU and the SPD kind of like ran on in a slightly different sense of like tax cuts or like, you know, tax exemptions or whatever. If you make the SPD, for example, had like a made in Germany bonus, they called it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and which
Shit
you wouldn't have known
works.
about. Of course, yeah, you wouldn't have known about if you like didn't scan their stupid fucking QR code that they had on their posters that looked, you know, like it was just like,
God.
I love the cube. No, okay, so Nick's kind of bearing the lead. When you scanned that QR code, it led to the SPD website for their election, which was a cube. It was a cube that you could rotate on your phone.
Oh my God.
Like
The future
You
is
could
now.
rotate a PDF? Fuck me.
I mean, I'll have to find it on like the only place I can think to find it is our fucking Instagram. Because it's such a ridiculous thing. Like, Schultz was on it. I think actually our friend of the show, Ted, sent us a picture of it. Actually, yes, I found it. Perfect. Because I'm gonna post it into the Discord here, and here is the Schultz cube that you could rotate on the website. There it is. Yep.
That's so good. That's like a
the
3D Ed Stone, but with like a dollar man.
That is
No,
amazing.
Ed had the drive to make the stone in physical space. We had a virtual.
Did
cube.
Did whoever came up with that move on to the second tutorial for learning OpenGL? Or is that as far
I
as
think that the thing that I think is the funniest thing about the cube is that because it had a QR code, but Germans are really skeptical about technology. So I don't know if anyone actually scanned it.
I hope you get what we had, which was 10 years after the fact of the Ed Stone. A story coming out. I think it was in one of these books that our journalists love to publish, when things don't matter anymore, about an advisor seeing the Ed Stone, or in this case, the cube, and just screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Schultz cube will be it'll be a website that'll be maintained for a really long time, like how the Space Jam official website is still up there. To add to Nick's point,
honestly, I think we should shoot the Schultz cube into outer orbit, so it can alien species can gaze upon us and be introduced by way of the Schultz cube.
No, you've got it all wrong. We're reorientating the economy to shoot the Schultz cube at Russia.
Shit. Well, we'll get there.
Yeah, converting the Schultz cube into an IMD, an ICBM. Yeah, no, not
yes, absolutely. Intercontinental ballistic Schultz cube.
Yeah.
To Nick's kind of point about the gas and stuff. As someone who's still paying my energy bills because you pay them a year in lieu. Typically how it works in Germany. The 2022 bill was bad, but the energy bills have gotten kind of manageable since then. They are definitely nowhere near the insanity of the UK. What really fucked Germany, and this is something that's probably not really allowed to be said, is the Inflation Reduction Act in the US. That was the thing that kind of
companies were just companies were just leaving Germany left and right, particularly ones from East Germany, which were just West German companies set up in East Germany, and shit like solar panels and stuff like that. One of Germany's largest producers of solar panels moved to Arizona, for example, who was in Saxony for a while. So that really Germany doesn't want to spend money either, so it's kind of
absolutely.
It was a few things of one that the economy really is German businesses don't want to stay here. Companies like VW also were the literal backbone of the German industrial core, had announced the end of it was the middle of last year. No, wait. Early 2023 that they were going to be shutting down possibly cutting jobs and possibly shutting down full factories and stuff like that because of China and this and that and that. This ended up quasi causing a crisis in the government of Germany has to save these jobs. They have to keep VW. VW also could have just been flexing that to possibly get a bailout. But there were and again, but it still falls on to that the same thing of that then Germany can't function if wages go up, which they should, and Germany, a country that then has historically been a massive export economy, whether it be to the rest of Europe or internationally, it cannot function going on without some form of either, I don't know, just a complete transformation of how Germany is run.
I mean essentially, to build an export industry, or any industry, you need 3 bits. You need labor, you need products, and you need plant. And the plant is there, and the inputs, the physical materials are not going to get any cheaper anytime soon, not substantially.
Yeah.
So the only thing you have left to squeeze is labor, but you've done that since the Hartz IV, since the 2000 when it was Schröder. There's not much more to squeeze substantially out of that.
Hartz IV doesn't exist anymore, so the system's now called Bürgergeld. That may also get as someone who may have to apply for it this week, it may not exist into the next government. But so they've tried to also change that system a bit, because the Hartz IV program was it was pretty fucking brutal. They had things like €1 jobs and stuff like that.
Yeah. The mini jobs, right? I remember that shit. Yeah.
The mini jobs still exist. They're kind of it's a thing that then it's if you're a student, it's fine, but if you're doing a mini job and then you're getting it's a fucked system. You the mini job, so $450 or $850, and then there's I think they may have changed them a little bit since I remember. But anyway, yeah, it's all these weird kind of other methods of employment that don't technically count as employment either. And in so what the new government with the CDU is kind of putting forward is that then they want to cut that. They want to create the incentives so that then kind of trying to do what France is trying to do of forcing people who are unemployed to work. So slavery in some form of another. And then also trying to get retirees to back into the workforce. So that's what was the CDU was really hammering on about, is that how dare these fucking people who already gave into the who already worked their entire lives, who are already benefiting off Social Security, we should get them to come back into the workforce one way or another. So Germany doesn't know how to attack this without being evil, and also as I mentioned, is,
you're trying to drag pensioners into the workforce. We're currently trying to drag paraplegics and people on their deathbed back into the workforce. So
it's just different strokes for different folks, right?
People with strokes, we'll get those guys in too.
I was going to say, should we talk about what actually happened in the German election?
Well, before we should, but I'll just ask one more related thing before we get to the results and stuff, which is during the term of office, especially in the last few months, or maybe since the genocide began in Gaza, what the fuck happened to the Greens in Germany? Because
I will answer this one.
No, the reason I ask is a lot of people, especially in England, have seen that the Labour Party is in abject shithole and are saying, "Oh yeah, you should go to the Green Party." And all I see is the German Greens, and I go, I don't know, it looks sus.
Yeah, so I think what happened with that is it's super interesting, because the last federal election, which was 2021, the Greens were kind of ascendant, right? And everyone was this is the threat to us winning the election, is the Green Party. This was after the Green Wave and stuff. Yeah. So the media, which is friendly to the CDU, honed in on the fact that they work with Die Linke in the Berlin government, and that's not kosher. That's illegal. Don't do that. And one of the reasons they criticized for it was, that I kept hammering home on, is that Die Linke is against NATO.
Oh no!
Kept bringing this up, not to attack Die Linke, but to attack the Greens for working with Die Linke. So during this election cycle, the Greens became this no, we love NATO, please, we love NATO, we'll sacrifice this woman to NATO if you just let us, if you just vote for us.
If you give us a 5B plastic bag tax, then we will vote for your guns and bombs, essentially.
Yeah, and then this was a weirdly prescient campaign, because then, I don't know, less than half a year later, Russia invades Ukraine. And the Greens get this moment to really show how much they fucking love NATO. Yeah, and then by the time October 7th rolls around, they're the military party. They're
I think another thing too that has to be pointed out with the Greens is that then they kind of got low key picked by the Democrats in the United States. They met with like a lot of consultants and party members and figures.
Oh no! Did they get visited by Jonathan Ashworth? No,
but they met with like John Kerry met with them like kind of before-ish the election, and they kind of like set out this plan that the Greens like should be Germany's version of like the Democrats, because Germany, to be fair, doesn't have a version of that. I mean, the SPD is kind of like, you know, they're. I mean,
like
yeah,
a social democratic.
They're
European
a social
party,
democratic
like.
European party, yeah, but there's nothing in the sense that then kind of has like is as lib-pilled. And so the Greens kind of like hammered down their Atlanticism because like the Democrats were kind of consulting with them a lot, and it kind of worked in a way. It for a while created a party that you could vote for and feel good about yourself, and they were doing evil shit but you didn't care. They did decently. I mean, they did very well, you know, last election, end up in the coalition. And even during like some local elections, like it was always kind of like for the media onslaught that was always kind of out against the Greens. I am surprised that they are still like around, to be honest.
Of the three coalition partners of the last government, they suffered the least this election.
They lost like 3%, I think, or 4%.
Oh, that is not as much as I expected, or you know, thought like maybe you should lose. But
they found their voter in like a, you know, like an upper middle class person who doesn't really kind of care too much about what's going on in the world, and they can vote for a party that makes them feel good. And that person is very, you know, fine and well off in Germany, particularly in metropolitan areas, and you will not see a Green voter probably outside of that, you know, but the population wise it's enough to, you know, raise the party up. And like there is a more like traditional wing of the Greens, like you have like areas like Baden-Württemberg where the Greens have been quite popular. They're in the government. They actually like led the government for a while with the CDU. That then have taken on. Look, the Greens are an entity that can become anything too, which is just common of any European Greens party. So the Baden-Württemberg Greens party is a right-wing party, just like plain and simple. Like they're very anti-migration. They've been that way for a while. They're very pro-capitalism. The Green Party in Berlin is like a center-left party, and they can like coexist in this. It's like they had for the longest time like the largest divide within their parties on just like local to national levels, and that's kind of been like this time around when they went behind Robert Habeck, who is the former economics minister for Germany, or whatever, Wirtschaftsminister, whatever the proper terminology of that is.
Not finance but economy, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, Wirtschaft und Klimaministerium is technically his title, but
okay.
Because they had to give the climate to the Greens.
It's a more real job than Minister for Odd Sock Straw that the Scottish Greens got.
So,
oh man,
like when they kind of like put all their eggs, in one basket with Habeck, that very much showed this kind of like professionalization towards. Like their right-wing politic of the Greens is here to stay. Habeck is similar, and I think this is a good transition to then talk about just like the election as kind of a whole of like Habeck, Scholz, Merz. So the Greens, SPD, CDU, and then Lindner and the FDP all ran kind of, you know, like nipping at the feet of the AFD, trying to be like the migration party, because the AFD had
chasing the Fash insurgency party rightward. Yeah, that always works great for everybody involved.
And I think the
best way to dispel the worst excesses of the far right is to just ape them in every sense.
Yeah, exactly.
We're slightly nicer, maybe.
Yeah, and the thing is that then like. So, and we can like kind of talk about this briefly of like the legislation that the CDU kind of put forth before the elections with the migration stuff in a second. But like, so every one of these parties pretty much, aside from like Die Linke, I guess Bündnis Wagenknecht as well was also doing every single party was trying to like get in on the AFD's, You know, they had this like magic ticket to win the elections. And what I think the parties didn't realize is that then if you cared a lot about migration and you were buying into this dumb rhetoric, again, like I have to say again, is not real, then you were already voting AFD, maybe CDU. You know, like those parties already existed. And I think that then that a lot of the like post-election analysis that people give doesn't put into the doesn't put this into consideration that yes, people voted against the SPD, the Greens, and the FDP. They didn't like the last government, but the SPD could have shat on the FDP for breaking the last coalition, done the whole we want to do social democracy thing. The FDP wasn't allowing us to do that, and they would have probably done significantly better. If they didn't run Scholz, either may have also then helped them as well. But at the end of the day, them going rightward made them have a historic loss. Because why would I vote for the FDP? Why would I vote for the SPD or the Greens or the FDP when I could either be smart and just vote for the CDU who is going to win, or if I want to then possibly throw my vote away and vote for the AFD, those already exist.
Yeah, it's the Coke Light thing. Like, why would you vote for the Coke Light when the real thing, the actual I hate foreigners thing, is on the ballot? You could just get it at home. Yeah.
And this is kind of the first time that, at least like of me living here for 12 years and like living through like 2-3 elections or whatever, that it's been like this. Like the parties are very, very, very far right wing now in Germany, like considerably so since the last election.
Well, you sort of already answered the question I was about to ask, which is, do German parties have the propensity that like the parties in the UK do, which is to take in the case of Labour, like a razor-thin majority in the massive majority they got, but the razor-thin vote share victories that they got across the country, and go, yeah, this is working. We're going to learn nothing from the complete apathy that people have towards us, and just going to keep doing the shit that everyone hates.
I've heard from people in the SPD, like, so it's kind of weird because the SPD is like, I mean, all these parties are very top down, but I've heard from people in the SPD who are kind of like in their like, you know, research sort of like thing, that they're very much aware that the SPD needs to do like basic social democracy. The party itself, the youth party, the youth wing, everyone, members of the SPD are very much aware that the SPD needs to return to some basic social democratic party that we saw 30, 40, even like 50 years ago from them.
Even one election ago
with raising the minimum wage, and which they were, to be fair, they did, but is a policy position that then had came in from Die Linke like a cycle beforehand. So they kind of they took the cost of living crisis like the thing that the SPD did try to take seriously, but was like gunned down by the FDP about, was like spending things and whatnot. Like they were at least like conscious of this, and there was also like, you know, this discussion too of like what to do with things like the Schuldenbremse. Like those were in discussions before this incoming coalition that then we don't really know what it is, but it's probably going to be a CDU SPD coalition. But nonetheless, like the SPD did kind of try to do some of this like basic social democratic nonsense. Not very well, still very like neoliberal pilled, but nonetheless, like they but members of their party
ran on that. When they ran on that, that's when they were successful.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like,
and when they...
This is the problem with branding yourself the Social Democratic Party, is that you need to kind of do some of it. They don't have the benefit of the Labour Party in the UK, which is rebranded to now the Party of Work, and presumably, in brackets after it, which makes you free.
Yeah. I do have, like, two things here, which is, like, first of all, in a similar vein, the Greens in Germany are fucking terrifying in the weird coalition that they've managed to build of voters, which are people who think of themselves as good, but do not pay attention to politics because they are comfortable, which allows the Greens to just, like, do whatever the fuck they want and still get, like, the votes
5%, 10%,
the votes of people you would think are, like, who consider themselves to be good people, and they're very versatile, like Nick said. They can be kind of center-right in Baden-Württemberg, they can be left-wing in Berlin and Hamburg, It's basically the bad guy from Terminator 2. Like, they're just like constantly shifting and changing and like really hard to beat. They genuinely scare me. The second thing, and probably one of the most important events of this election cycle, was the stunt that Merz pulled like a month before the election itself.
Yeah, so you can explain that, and I have a little update on that for after you you mention.
So Friedrich Merz, the leader of the CDU, the Factory Reset Germany Default Party, they
it's 100% true though. Like, a month, maybe 6 weeks before the election date, ran did a statement in the parliament, non-binding resolution of basically, in so many words, yo, fuck migrants, in the kind of like drill tweet, turning to the audience and raising the racism dial, right? And spectacularly and super interesting and proving the whole Diet Coke thesis, or the Coke Light thesis, correct, this did not work. After they did this, the Merz, like the CDU numbers stagnated. As Nick rightly pointed out, the battle lines had been drawn. If you were voting for AFD, you were already voting for AFD. And if you were telling pollsters you were voting for CDU, you had already heard the pitch of the AFD and decided to stick with the CDU. This wasn't like, it's done, right? This wasn't going to work.
The CDU did try to like run on some of their like local posters in like, I think that she's in Nordrhein-Westfalen, but doesn't Julia Klöckner, who's one of the kind of like, she was at one point like possibly going to be anointed to be like the like post-Merkel figure, and then she kind of kept getting into dumb scandals. But she had a poster that said pretty much like, if you want to vote for the AFD, just vote for the CDU. Like, we have the same shit. And she got like dunked on, and then she had to like remove the poster from her, like, you know, from her website or whatever, Instagram. But yeah, I mean, like, the CDU quietly and sometimes not so quietly was doing the thing of like, well, if you want the AFD shit, we're the same thing. Just, you know, we're a democratic party,
we're
an anti-democratic
party. We will give you the same thing, but it will be polite and wear a suit and not like a bomber jacket and a shaved head.
I mean, the AFD wears plenty of suits too, you know. And
I know.
The party's over. No, and the party is like, the party is overwhelmingly filled with former CDU members. Like, they're the largest party that of you know, ex-members of members of parliament, at least, who are members of the AFD. Most of them are former CDU members. There's a few that then had just like gotten into politics. There are the occasional people like Björn Höcke, who is a member of the NPD, and I'm legally allowed to call him a Nazi. So whenever I get the chance,
we are legally allowed to call him a Nazi.
We are allowed to call him a Nazi. So yeah, like, but I mean, that's the thing too, is that the AFD is kind of like, remember, like the freaky, weird. They are a libertarian party in their economic sense, but like I mean, they're just like they didn't like, they are like, the CDU does offer a lot of like the same like migration shit.
But the thing with it all, I was trying to say here is that like Merz was actually, I think, pretty smart by not waiting until the election results to do this. I think 2 weeks. I, in retrospect, view this as like CDU strategists were just like, let's test the water. And the results came back as, don't do that. Which I think is super interesting because
because they sort of immediately sort of disavowed their own result and said, no, we will never formally work with the AFD, and you know what we did in Parliament was kind of like a prank, and you know he is Bam Margera, he was behind the scenes all along. And...
Well, I think what I think was more the problem was within that entire 4 weeks of like them doing it to when the actual ballot was cast. Is when you see Die Linke rise, is when you see the number of Greens stabilize. I think before that happened, the Greens were predicted to have a more disastrous result because those two parties were viewed as the like actually anti-fascist party. Yeah.
And the thing with the CDU is that they never really like stepped back on that. Like the motion that they passed, which was like the CDU's 5-point plan for migration, was just like a suggestion, more or less. But the fact of that then that they had, you know, they had sought out votes from the far right. They didn't, though. They didn't regret it. Merz on multiple occasions had come out and been like, literally no regrets. I don't care. We have to get this done, this and that and that. You have people like Jens Spahn, who used to be the former health minister, who is beyond, like, one of the most, like just scandal-ridden people in a party that then does make Italian politics, like, flinch sometimes, that they're that corrupt. But he like Jens Spahn kind of became the spokesperson for the CDU, being like migration. They didn't slow down on it at all. They kind of and the thing is too is that literally as of today, as part of the coalition talks that they're having, the CDU and the SPD made an agreement on at least the possibility to deny entry to people at the border of Germany, which was one of the 5 points that the CDU had, which pretty much denies refuge in Germany. I think, which is against the law, in terms of the European Union, in terms of German law, but nonetheless, the fact that the SPD, a party that then came out and being like, we're not with this CDU plan, just bent the knee immediately for the racism, and so.
Well, this is the thing, though. I think what I find super interesting is I kind of don't think that Merz would now be talking more front and center about things like Russia, Ukraine, trying to the infrastructure kind of sop he's throwing into the military spending. I don't think any of that happens without him realizing that talking very loudly about migration isn't actually the super big vote getter that I think it is. That being said, they're still going to do the racism.
And for the people who are actually that deeply involved with voting about migration, they AfD voters because they can tell the real shit from the fake shit. The CDU can never hit it as hard as the AfD can, on an institutional level when it comes to migration and racism. Essentially, it's not in their DNA to take it that far.
No, and then at the same time, say what you will about the Germans, which we do on our podcast every week, OperationGlad.io. There is
a podcast called Corner Späti. Wait, I'm confused.
Yeah.
Where are we in the?
What have you roped me into, Ciarán?
But then, say what you will about the Germans. There is still a sizable faction of the German population that is anti-fascist. Yes, they get a little confused about how to actually make that manifest, and they'll vote for the Greens, and I can just look at them and go, bless.
Yeah, entering the ballot box and just entering a fugue state at the same time and being, I think I voted for someone as you walk out the door.
And of course it was the CDU, because that's just the default party. But, the
box keeps moving every time I try and put across. Crazy stuff.
But at the same time, the rise of Die Linke is all Merz is doing, and I think he realizes that, and I think he's kind of pissed about that, to be honest, because it does put him in a bind with a lot of his spending plans.
Yeah, because also too, the day after the election, where the AfD had just a historic win for the far right in a country that has never had a problem with the far right. Every article that I saw was either about how bad Die Linke is, how these crazy, whatever, Stalinists or SED leftover party, boogeyman nonsense, or look, this one guy who is in Berlin-Neukölln, he supports Palestine, and then the AfD literally has people that they have now put back into the German parliament, or at least who will be in the next, I guess they're technically already there, but who will be in the next opposition, that have just done cool things praised the SS in an Italian interview, just normal shit.
But to the thing that makes me hopeful as well is that we just had the Hamburg state elections, where Die Linke got their historic highest result in that state as well. Like,
there is some upsides, especially when it comes to like Die Linke actually doing reasonably well is pretty awesome. Like,
I
think they're
how much does that? Because it was Die Linke that had that spin-off, wasn't it?
The
Bündnisser Wagenknecht. Yeah, we haven't talked about them yet.
Yeah,
that failed.
We don't have to because they're gone.
They're gone. Yeah.
Bye, bitch.
So as far as I understood it, the Bündnisser Wagenknecht was trying to do the thing that every half-wit commentator tells you that you should do, which is like to be economically liberal but socially conservative, and that's the way you win all the votes. And
this is the party that Labour wishes it was, right?
Yes, this is the Paul Mason party.
I think it was so sauceless, I think, at the end of it, because people were like hyping this up for too long, and she'd done well in some East German states, but then at the end of it, it was just she did not meet the moment. I think things like Trump kind of fucked her in terms of like, oh, I'm going to be nice to Russia kind of thing. I don't think that helped. The Merz's stunt on migration didn't help because they weren't as they're like an anti-migration party as well. So like when all the youth folk got really angry at Merz, they went to the Greens and Die Linke and not her party. So I think at the end of the day, she didn't really have anything to offer. The best you could say the Bundeswehr Wagenknecht ever offered to German people was like, forced peace settlement in like Ukraine, and like let's return to a kind of sense of normalcy with Russia. Let's kind of like make peace happen in Ukraine. But now that just seems to be like happening by force by the Americans anyway. So why do we need her?
Yeah,
it's kind of like.
Yeah, I mean, she I'm fine with it. She's a bit too full of herself and constantly has tried to like do these split off things and whatever. And she's not that popular, and that's fine with me. She did the what if I do, the Paul Mason shit. I think is the best way of putting it, and it doesn't work.
Isn't it the case that you can't join the party without her permission?
Oh yeah, they have like limits
it's Keir Starmer's Labour, all right.
Is it one of those things where, like, technically, like, legally speaking, it's not a party, but like a Verein, and like, you can't be like a party member, but you can be like a dues-paying contributor with absolutely no say in like how the parties run and what they stand for.
Subscribe on Patreon to join my to be adjacent to my political party. $5 a month.
Yeah, it's. I think at the end, like, just in retrospect, completely sauceless. And now that she's like contesting the election, she just looks like a whinger as well. So like, yeah,
take your lumps.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye, loser. Anyway, at the end of all of this, so we're getting once again, a return to the GroKo, to an alliance between the CDU and the SPD, and maybe the Greens on some things ?
I don't think that they need the Greens. Yeah, like they're kind of going into this head first that we're gonna get GroKo. And the CDU kind of ran their whole campaign of we hate the Greens. It would be weird if it wouldn't matter. No one would care, but. They made it pretty clear that they don't want any coalition with the Greens, and of course no coalition with the AfD, which was kind of like the thing that was very weird with Merz, is that then it wasn't because of like the stuff that people kept saying about it, was because he said they were just too close to Russia. So like that was kind of
you can just say anything, really, can't you?
Yeah, really. And he was like, Merz also
CDU,
then. Yeah, Merz also then said this thing too as well of that he's afraid NATO may not exist in like July.
Oh,
which is a nuts thing. Which is a nuts thing to say on the night of an election.
Yeah, he said that after the night of. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like
threatening me
I don't
with
think
a good
NATO's
time.
going to exist. It's just it's we'll get into it with the rearming Europe stuff.
Yeah. Because I really want to get to that. But so far as I could tell, the big announcement that the CDU and the SPD have come out with so far is like, all right, we will get rid of like the debt brake, the Schuldenbremse, and the Schwarze Null in the German constitution, which is like says, oh, you can't run budget deficits essentially, just to keep it very simple. But we will like make an exception for that, but like only for defense spending and 500 billion on infrastructure, like as an as little treats.
Some of the least productive capital expenditure you could do. Fucking defense. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
So I think this is kind of interesting at the moment because I'm taking European rearmament as just like a given. It's stupid and it's wasteful and it's unproductive, as you said, but it's happening. I can't stop it.
It's like British rearmament. It's just as fucking stupid, and it will also happen.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to give more money to that submarine that can only launch nukes if the Americans say so.
Well, maybe you'll get an aircraft carrier that gets rusty if the water's too salty.
Yeah, the aircraft carrier that can't go in the water.
A tank that vibrates the soldiers inside to fucking death.
I don't think we're gonna get any of that. You know what I think that we are gonna get is just a bunch. For those who don't know, Germany is the worst at one of the worst nations when it comes to dollar per bullet military spending.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just like the money is just gonna get funneled into like McKinsey. Like that's where it's all gonna go.
So I think
the front line of Ukraine is going to be like blasted with more PowerPoint slides than anyone thought humanly possible.
Yeah. Well, it's the funniest
this wall
thing
of
too is that
is so thick.
Yeah, like Germany and Iraq mostly sent consultants.
If the bureaucrat in front of you should fall, pick up his office subscription.
Yeah, just a bunch of German consultants being like, "Have you considered winning this war? Thank you. That'll be 500 per hour." So I think the really interesting thing that's happening right now is you need a 2/3 majority in the parliament to pass a constitutional change amendment.
Yeah, which isn't going to happen as of today. The Greens said that they won't do it.
And what I find super interesting is that kind of leaves Die Linke like being able to hold them over the barrel, because what the CDU wants is the Schuldenbremse, the debt brake has an exemption in it already, and that's for natural disasters. If a natural disaster occurs in Germany, you can spend a deficit. That's actually
COVID was also one, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because COVID was considered a natural disaster. They were able to make the argument it was a natural disaster, when we all know it was made in a lab by China. But and
then spread by podcasters in the payroll of the Chinese Communist Party.
Absolutely.
Still waiting for that money, but yeah.
Oh god, it takes forever to clear. It's so annoying.
No one on the left pays on time. Soros, none of them.
I think Die Linke has them over a barrel, because I think what Die Linke, and possibly the Greens as well, could force them to do is actually get rid of the debt brake, no strings attached. Because if you get rid of the debt brake, then you can just do military spending afterwards without a 2/3 majority. So Merz could get away with it if he just gets rid of the Schuldenbremse full stop. And that opens the possibility for Germany's future, to
do things.
Yeah, to have a state a national capital that doesn't look like the 90s. Things like that.
I wonder what happened then.
No.
Who knows?
No, don't worry about it. Scatman released a wonderful song.
Germany, you said we have to preserve this moment for eternity.
Yeah, absolutely. We must spend a deficit to fund Eurodance.
Exactly. The amount of defense spending that went on Scooter would fucking blow your mind.
Cascado now has a HIMAR. Don't worry about it. Every time we touch. So yeah, I think that's kind of the interesting thing at the moment, and I think that's probably what I hope. From what I've heard from people who are members of Die Linke is kind of what they're driving for. Is like, we can force them to get rid of the Schuldenbremse, no asterisks. If they want their defense spending, because then they don't need our votes for the defense spending. We cannot vote for that. We don't want to vote for that. But we can force their hand to get rid of the Schuldenbremse. And hopefully the Greens are thinking that too. I don't know what the Greens' thinking at the moment is at all.
It seems like it seems a bit to be that, because I guess this was yesterday because it was reported about today in German newspapers, but it was like, I just saw like hilariously when I was at the grocery store of like Schuldenskandal, like big letters on the cover of Bilds. So yeah, the Greens have dropped out of that possibility, and it is for the same reason, I believe, as Die Linke. I think it's a sense of that. Then, although the Greens are horny for defense spending, they do want also. The Greens also ran on reintroducing things like a price cap for your rent, stuff like that. So they do care about the social
really
stuff.
hoped you were going to say they also ran on reintroducing the Aurochs to Germany's forests.
No. but
it was green spending that was shot down because of the Schuldenbremse of the last government. So they've been burnt by it.
Yeah, and the only like party that is like ideologically bound to the Schuldenbremse that really ran on it was the FDP. Was also kind of after Lindner collapsed the last government. Merz went to Lindner and was like, "Hey, if you make it into the next government," he didn't say that part because he thought that the FDP was guaranteed. The CDU was gunning for a coalition that they could have done with the FDP in some way or another, so that then Merz could have put Lindner back into the finance ministry. And he just said that outright a few days after Lindner collapsed the government. So the FDP was the only one who was kind of ride or die Schuldenbremse. CDU pretends that they are, but yeah, in order to do $500 billion in defense spending, which is what they're projected for the next 10 years, you can't do it any other way. They wanted to do a special fund that would have been, done through some fucking tax plan that would have never happened. But that would have only been for about I think $100 billion is what they had planned, at least this last year.
That's so much. I will never get over the fact just in general, also with Starmer's Labour and everything, how quickly everybody is just tossing around, oh yeah, $100 billion, billion,
exactly.
Guns, bombs, cool, and then
never mind
the second
that we
you ask for...
last 15 years, we're quibbling over 1, 2, 3, 4 billion, euros or pounds or whatever.
Yeah, or
Germany,
what if we needed to actually spend money to not burn the planet to a crisp? No, is it socially responsible? I'm sorry, we can't make this work right now. I'm too busy. I know why. It's just because liberal parties are fucking dying and they see a war economy as a way out of that. But it's mind-blowing.
I think it's interesting to compare the UK and Germany's response to this, because Starmer just comes up being money for the guns and we'll have to cut social welfare. Merz at least kind of came in with money for the guns and this sop amount of money for infrastructure that will be given out to the states. And I find that
the reason for it though is because then that was also done with the sense that Germany needs, because for some fucking reason their brain still functions in World War II brain, is that would only go towards things that could double for defense stuff. So redoing the roads because
tanks.
It's not for tanks. It's not in the sense that we're gonna get better bond service or anything like that. God fucking forbid. It literally was put forward as yes, we need better infrastructure for the war economy. So it's just a different. Germany's just not as neoliberalized yet as
no, it's still very
number one, baby.
Yeah,
undefeated. Except for all defeats.
I think the interesting thing, though, is or what makes Germany kind of different is that Germany had this profound economic identity crisis because of the invasion of Ukraine, because of the IRA in the United States, where
just because of the IRA.
Everyone else is allowed to say IRA, and they know what they mean.
No, but when it
Because
comes to
I'm
Nigeria-
Irish.
If only.
But then because of all of that stuff, Germany was like, oh fuck, our whole identity as like Europe's leading economy is completely fucked. And it was just because like the SPD knew that we had to spend. The Greens knew that we had to spend. The FDP are just fucking psychos and would not spend. And then I think it's still kind of like, even in CDU's I love power for power's sake, understands that like some spending needs to occur. Like it can't just be military. We'll have to give the German people something else. It will not be enough. It will not be sufficient. But I think there's this... I think they have, like, not only is Russia this existential crisis to Europe, yada, 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 there is also this, like, oh god, Siemens are frowning at me. We have to do something. Mr. Siemens is pulling a gun on me, and I don't have any money for guns.
Yeah, please, Mr. Rheinmetall, won't you fix for me that Mr. Siemens will also like me again?
I pay
fun-
Mr. Rheinmetall to point a gun at Mr. Siemens.
Exactly, yeah. Fun thing too. There's a Rheinmetall factory up in Gesundbrunnen, for people who know the geography of Berlin, that is being converted to a munitions factory.
Cool.
I used to walk my dogs there, and sometimes I would take the photo of the front of it, and the guy working security did not like that. Whoops.
Yeah, I think at this point this is a reasonable like jumping off point to like, you know, further explore because it's not just the Germans who've discovered, you know,
we need to
war
build the
and...
weather control device for Europe.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
We're gonna make the
Chronosphere.
We're gonna make the premise of the. We're gonna make the premise of the movie The Core happen. As I said before we started recording, there is like two futures in front of Europe right now, and it's fully automated luxury Gaullism or turning all of Eurasia into Skibbity Toilet. And
guess which one we're
pounding.
for.
Yeah, pounding my clipboard on the desk and saying Gaullism. Do it, baby.
It's slamming the Gaullism one.
As long as we all get to wear like the little KPs again, because that was delightful. That was just a good hat.
I've been trying to organize my thoughts as best as I can about like everything that's going to happen or like what the possible futures are, and I have fun names for them. So I want to introduce some of these concepts to people.
Formally, by the way, the plan is called Rearm Europe. It was just announced by the European Commission and von der Leyen, and it's
that
like
was
an
the one,
800.
That was that the one that was announced by Goatsy?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we need to establish a defensive ring around Europe.
Yeah,
and the ring will look like this.
Yeah. I mean, we could get into the details later, but it's essentially an 800 billion euro rearmament and arms investment fund through a combination of European state spending and European like institutional spending.
It's the conversation that is happening in Europe right now is funny. I think I read Nathan Akehurst today kind of describe Europe talking about defense is like watching your town mayor wield a machine gun. Like it's kind of like I cannot stress how many different ways Europe can fuck this up, but it's super interesting because like the rearm Europe is kind of funny because it is like it's Ursula von der Leyen thinking that she's a real government, and then of course they do the Goatsy logo, but there's like.
Well, I mean, that comes like in between announcements of like, this time you motherfucking wolves, this time it's for real.
No, literally, it actually came like the next day. There was an announcement of like we're rolling back defenses for wolves, and like farmers are allowed to kill them again.
I will be able to shoot a Rheinmetall howitzer at a wolf. Under the new rearmed Europe package.
The
Ursula von der Leyen gets a Bayraktar for herself.
Every horse is safe. Every pony protected. So what we have is like you have Macron.
Ursula
doing
von der Leyen just becomes a drone. Actually, that's part of it.
Yes, we're going to turn Eurasia into skibbity toilet.
Yeah. Give Ursula the Gundam.
Skibbity dop dop. Yes, yes. So what's going to happen is things that have happened so far. First of all, Macron gets on TV and talks about like, oh, it's a national crisis. We need to extend France's nuclear umbrella to cover all of the EU.
Yes,
First of all,
do it. Do it.
First of all, fucking insane. Second of all, within like an hour of that happening, Poland and Denmark are like, yeah, cool, let's do it.
Yeah, because I saw the Polish were like, oh yeah, we need to become a nuclear country like tomorrow.
Yeah. It was like a Lithuanian guy who first floated that all the nukes that France has should actually just be transferred to European control. Which the French will not go along with.
No, they would never do that. They would never.
No, and I would not
It's
trust
my
the
toy,
Lithuanians
and I'll
with
go
it.
home if you keep talking like that.
Pretty much. So what I can the only thing I can confidently say right now in terms of predicting the future, although I have plenty of other predictions, is this is the death of German Europe. German Europe is over. That shit, Mr. Siemens has a gun and he's got a frowny face. It is over.
Well,
but long live.
Yeah, long live Dassault, or whatever that company is called.
Yeah,
He has
long
a-
live
He has a
Tails,
fucking
long live
nuke.
French Europe.
Yeah.
It's all on the table, guys. Smoking in restaurants, having affairs.
We're renaming it Charles de Gaulle Airport.
Every airport is Charles de Gaulle Airport.
Exactly. You know, Frank-Afrique is no longer a thing. Frank-Europe. Now there's,
there would never
potential.
I do love the idea of just
Oh
like
man, I
every
cannot
European...
fucking wait to have like French peacekeepers stationed in The Hague, subtly choosing the security chiefs.
It's... Oh, man. Okay, so here is Ciarán's 3 predictions of things that could happen, right? First, fucking whatever the Hungarians have planned, that's possibility number 1, because the Hungarians right now, Viktor Orban, fucking love...
Like Greater Hungary?
No, well, maybe. I'd hate to be a Transylvanian right now. But Hungary and their weird government-organized, non-governmental organizations like the MCC or whatever really fucking love that Trump and Russia love each other right now, or like are working slightly closer together or whatever. They're erect constantly in Budapest right now. Possibility number 2. Full-on denialism. Atlanticism isn't dead. I'm calling this possible future the Baltic Maloney. Which sounds like a really cursed order at a deli. Where we're just going to pretend America is fine and we're just going to do what they want, and we start we get aggressive with Russia, we get aggressive with America by force, we get aggressive with China.
We triple down on like our defense orders from Lockheed Martin and the American arms manufacturing industry, and
they're saying it's a multipolar world. Well, what if we had a pole of our own?
Yes, and this is the third option. True Gaullism has never been tried.
Yeah, true Gaullism. The thing that I think the funniest thing about all this is that my ex is French, and so we've been talking a lot about what is the new French decade, because it is the French decade. We're in the Chinese century, but the French decade, and it is the funniest kind of like identity crisis that she has, because she's like, well, yes, France is the best country, but she's a leftist, so she like hates it that it has to be like, yes, no, culturally France is superior, but like we are the most evil country, like we can't like export this everywhere.
Not a true hater. I hate to say it.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, yeah, it is very funny to see, because an American, like, they control the world. They're a bit like, but they would never say that the United States is like, there's not the same like zest that the French have to it, where it is very like it is very entertaining for me.
The distinct advantage that the French have in this moment is, since the 50s, they have been saying America is not a reliable partner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I mean, that was the whole fundamental bit. That's also why, like, you know, the French originally blocked the British from, like, coming into the European Union because they were afraid it was like a backdoor for the Americans to come in. And they were right.
Yankee dogs, the lot of you.
The French are right about. I mean, the French are right there. Yeah. I mean, you know, maybe it is again. Maybe it is. I'm getting too Franco-pilled by my ex, but yeah, like, I think you're right.
Jean-Luc Mélenchon like completely called out that security summit that Starmer had been like, oh, look at you, European solidarity, but you're having it in the most bitch-made American European country. And I'm like, lol.
Check this out.
Yeah, no lies detected.
No.
I'm starting to feel really bad about Brexit now because I can only imagine how normal the people of Britain would get to be in Europe during the French decade.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you guys are probably going to get roped into it, too. It's going to be fun.
But we'll just
there will be.
We'll do the denialism.
Yeah, exactly. The UK will undoubtedly sign some kind of defence pact with the EU, like armed forces.
Either that or, yeah, as you were saying, they do the like Baltic Maloney thing where you go to Raytheon and insist the kill switch be installed into all the aircraft that you get given. Because that's the other conversation that's happened of just like, Denmark wants to send a bunch of their weapons to defend Greenland. Oh, but we all kind of know that America put in a bunch of switches that could just turn off all this shit off if we actually go to war. And this is being printed in the Financial Times, and it's just like, oh, that sucks. I wonder which European country built all their own military shit. Oh, it's the French again. Oh, yeah. Lol. It's going to be so stupid. Finally, Germany is going to spend. It's going to give all this money to Rheinmetall, only for Rheinmetall to probably give all this money to, like, Tails. Or whatever French company.
Yeah, Thales and Dassault. It's going to be fucking incredible.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
What happens? Like, what happens to Airbus then? Like, will the French just be like, actually gives you backsies? It never was yours, Germany.
It's the French-Dutch combination. The other
lethal combination.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Lethal.
Secret
French
fourth
Dutch,
option. Secret fourth option. Second Dutch Golden Age. We will once again build frigates.
The West Indies never like.
Exactly.
Airbus is so cursed because it's like it's a combination French and Dutch, and you'd think that means Belgian, but somehow it doesn't.
It's French and German.
What?
No. Yes,
yeah, no, you're talking about Air France KLM. Like that Air France is partly owned by the Dutch.
But Airbus is. But remember, because going back to the Greens, the reason why Airbus couldn't send Eurofighters to Saudi Arabia was because the German Greens were blocking them from being sent because they're a dual like enterprise between Germany and France. So both countries have to approve them. And then don't worry, after October 7th, the Greens approved the shipment of Airbuses of Eurofighters to Saudi Arabia.
Their two headquarters are in France and the Netherlands.
That's fine, but I'm just saying that then that it is a dual enterprise between Germany as well. Germany has a say in this.
It's a Societas Europus. It's a yeah.
So it belongs to Germany technically.
So positive things that could possibly happen in this new world order. That oh man, cursed monkey paws. I think what's happening in Romania, it might start happening elsewhere in Europe. I think we're going to get like a. Hey, the far right has tied themselves a little too closely to either Russia or America, and everyone starts to notice now. And there's like, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking there's going to be like a House of Un-European Affairs committee.
That is such a cursed place. I'm just thinking about like which fucking freaks from the European Parliament would like sit in that and just be all sweaty.
Oh, Phidias, the YouTuber from Cyprus.
Yes. Oh. No, it's going to be like wall-to-wall vault people.
Yeah. I think the other thing that makes this kind of like possibility of Gaullism actually work is because Gaullism without the European Union was kind of a cursed thing. That like original Gaullism was just like, hey, we're just going to assert our dominance over Europe and they're going to fucking like it. But now the EU at least adds this like fig leaf of, no, like, the Belgians get a say. The Latvians get a say as well. Like, yes, all the military contractors that are doing gangbusters right now and making all the weapons are in France. Don't worry about it. But you get a say.
Yeah, you're here. Look, you're in the regions and community room. Don't worry about it. Buy the gun.
We put the little goatsy flag on the Eurofighter. It's fine.
You're in the team photo. I'm sorry you got half cropped out, but you're in the team.
Yeah, maybe we'll subcontract like half a manufacturing order for tear gas grenades to, whatever you've got going on in the Baltics over there.
It's a team effort. We'll be making the weapons. You'll be on the front line. It's fine.
Yeah. We have a great model for that. It's called Ukraine.
Yeah, but it's a horrifying new world we're in. In which we're gonna fuck it up in so many ways. If none of these European countries start going after the right, then it's just gonna be like Le Pen in charge of France during the French decade, and it all fucking falls apart. Yeah. Because they call the Maltese a type of dogs or something who love doing Texas scams.
Yeah. Secret door number 5. It's the Maltese century, and we're going to turn the entirety of Europe into fucking, online poker and slot machines.
Britain's 90% of the way there. That's all high streets are now. So, that's fine.
Yeah.
Mr. Beast is a secret Maltese plant.
Yeah.
The corollary to this is, though, that Jean-Luc Mélenchon has the chance to do the funniest thing.
Yes! Come play, Mr. Commissioner, will be the official slogan of the Maltese century.
We've made the first circular economy. We just take all this money out of various state lotteries and give it to various European countries. What does Europe actually look like on the ground? Vape shops as far as the eye can see.
That is literally what the Baltics are like, but yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about that. That is the future of Europe.
It's just vape shops where we all hate Russians. Yeah.
Yeah.
A Baltic future.
Like you mentioned, skibbity toilet for Europe.
Forever. We turned Ursula von der Leyen into one of the skibbity toilets.
Anyway.
The one line with a low poly version from 2005.
Oh, we spent so much of Rheinmetall's money to make her low poly. It's not even funny.
Oh man, the Rheinmetall shopfront in the metaverse is going to be fucking incredible.
Do you think that if Ursula von der Leyen, do you think that if she was skibbity toilet, she'd be one of those weird toilets that has the shelf that Germany has? Where you can shit just sits
the
there.
Hochspüler.
Yeah. The Gillian Keith poo special. Yeah.
So she can examine all her wolf kills before she flushes.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, she's eating them before she gets rid of them.
Yeah. That's how she gains their powers.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we wrap things up there then. So, Ciarán, Nick, thank you very much for joining. If people would like to hear more about the cursed continent, which is Europe, where can they go?
You can go listen to our podcast, Corner Späti, on any podcatching good app and stuff like that. And if you're confused about where to go and don't know how to spell Späti, just go to operationglad.io, a CIA operation about being happy. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
being happy
it's
in
about
the car in Italy.
Yeah, Operation Gladio is very much about hanging out with your friends and having some tension together.
Checking in on your mates. How much they want to kill Olaf Palme, maybe.
If you would like more of this podcast, patreon.com/practicast, £5 a month, 2 extra bonus episodes, access to the Discord, also merch available, practicast.tmail.com, and also come to the Twitch streams. They are 6:30 on a Sunday, twitch.tv/practicecast.
They're no longer a practical joke.
Yes. Dwarf Fortress is real, and it is your friend if you join the stream.
Yeah, but you must join the stream, though. That's the rule. Ciarán, Nick, thank you again for coming on. Always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right.
Right.
Well, goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.